let it set for a minute, and then put it right back down.
Retired Marine Clifton Johnson works for Newcastle, Delaware-based Wastemaster Solutions, a commercial trash hauler.
I am actually attached to Paulsboro Refinery Company located in Paulsboro, New Jersey. I'm an environmental waste coordinator. What that entails is responsible and accountable for all their waste, whether it be non-haz or haz.
When he was in the Marine Corps, Johnson oversaw as many as 90 Marines in his 22 years.
Bottom line is I had to take care of my troops.
And that's what he does now, except his troops are the employees at PBF's refinery. He makes sure everyone stays in line, when it comes to waste, that is.
I had no idea what an environmental coordinator was 3 years ago. Now I run the whole show. But it's just that Marine thing on me. This is mine, I got it, I'll take care of it.
That Marine thing is what Wastemaster CEO Steve Masterson was banking on. His business is almost 20% veteran.
They bring leadership, they bring discipline. There's a lot of things that they bring to the table that maybe someone right out of high school or college doesn't necessarily have until they're a little bit more mature and maybe been in difficult situations that some of the soldiers have been in.
The son of an Army colonel, Masterson served 6 years in the Air Force. His commitment to veterans is personal, but it's also smart.
Helps us greatly within the community as well, because I think the community really supports those who are supporting the veterans.
Sure, there's a slight learning curve, but Masterson says that's expected from any new hire.
When you hire that citizen soldier, when you hire that veteran, you know that you're going to have to put a little bit of effort, but it's a different type of effort than you would be if you were to hire a different type of civilian. It's more about letting him understand your ways versus the ways that he's learned in the military.
Johnson sort of stumbled into trash, but some veterans are job ready. Military helicopter pilots can fly civilian helicopters, or an MP might be a police officer or state trooper, while others who are not so job ready might go back to school, since many enlist right after graduating high school. No matter where the service member is in the job-seeking process, businesses are looking for veterans. JP Chase is one of them. In 2011, the New York-based bank launched its 100,000 Jobs mission with the goal of hiring 100,000 veterans by the year 2020. At that time, veteran unemployment was already in the double digits. And with the U.S. pulling out troops from Iraq and Afghanistan, that meant thousands more troops would be fighting for jobs after having fought for their country. New York City is where I met with Ross Brown, head of Military and Veterans Affairs at JP Chase headquarters. This is where Brown is stationed and where the 100,000 Jobs mission was first deployed 5 years ago.
Jamie Dimon and the senior leadership of JP Chase wanted to do something on behalf and for the nation. And so they stepped forward with an idea to establish a coalition that was initially made up of 10 companies that has now grown to over 200 companies.
And as of June this year, the coalition has collectively hired more than 300,000 veterans.
And so we redubbed the name of the organization to the Veteran Jobs Mission, and we set a goal to hire 1 million veterans. And we didn't put an end date.
But one of the key findings from a 2015 U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs employment report found more than 50% of post-9/11 veterans will face a period of unemployment within the first 15 months after leaving the military. In other words, 1 out of 2 vets will leave that first job within the first year of getting out.
Just like any of our employers, we're interested in retaining them. We expend a lot of resources bringing them into the organization, and we value the work that they do, and so naturally we want to keep them.
So about a year ago, on behalf of the more than 200 private sector companies that make up the Vet Jobs Mission Coalition, Brown sanctioned a retention study with the Center for a New American Security. CNAS is a nonpartisan defense policy think tank in Washington, D.C. Phil Carter is the director of the Military Veterans and Society program at CNAS and is leading the study. We spoke to him by phone.
When we asked veterans why they moved, they tended to cite very positive reasons. More money, better job, more responsibility, better location. The implication of that is that transition for veterans isn't just about finding the first job. It's about finding the fit, which could take a first job, a second job, or a third job. It's a process.
Life in the military is top-down, controlled, and predictable. The career path is clearly defined. But this is not how the rest of the world works. Carter and Brown can speak to this, both having served long careers in the Army.
I I think it's a very natural thing that you'd expect to see turnover in that first year. They don't acquire the same labor market skills that their civilian peers would. You're not interviewing for jobs. You're not networking in order to move up and over. You're essentially following orders.
I had only ever envisioned being a professional soldier. I was comfortable with the culture, I understood the rules, and now I was transitioning to a whole new world. If I'm a transitioning service member and I don't know what I want to do, it's possible that I'll take a paycheck, a job, just so I have a paycheck while I figure out what I want to do.
And figure out how the system works, which plays a part, Carter says, in why veterans don't necessarily excel the first year out.
For companies, they might think about not just hiring veterans right out of the military, but also about hiring veterans from other companies.
Whether they're just out of the service or years out, the folks at JP Morgan are developing a mentoring program, addressing some common pitfalls new vet hires face when trying to fit in the private sector. Brown calls it the Pathfinder program. Through it, a newly hired vet will be paired with a sponsor, also a veteran, over the course of a year.
One of the things that all veterans can relate to is when you move from one duty station to another, once you're issued orders, you generally receive a letter and a package from your sponsor. And your sponsor then, upon arrival at your new duty station, kind of shows you where to go, where not to go, what to do, what not to do, and kind of helps you navigate the new installation until you're ready to take it on yourself. And that's kind of the mental model, if you will, that we applied to this Pathfinder program.
They'll go over things like communication. How do you write emails? How do you talk to people on the phone? Behavior and manners, in other words, soft skills. And networking, which is seen as a bad thing in the military, but critical to your success in the civilian world.
In the military, the focus is on mission and your teammates. And if you're out networking beyond the scope of your platoon, squad, company, battalion, then you're politicking. And if you're politicking, that has a negative connotation in the military. So what I talk to veterans is, there's nothing wrong. In fact, I encourage you all to network on behalf of the mission that you've got. And I think when I talk about it in that way, it's much more palatable for the veteran, and therefore they'll create more opportunities for themselves.
The Pathfinder program is still in the works, but Brown says he'll provide the model to the coalition in hopes of executing it next year. Chris Choi hopes to be one of JP Morgan Chase's new vet hires. After 5 years in the Army, the West Point grad is now part of the bank's 3-year Military Officer Executive Development Program in Wilmington.
It recruits junior military officers coming out of the military with 4 to 10 years of active duty service across all the different branches of the military, and places us in positions that provide us broad exposure to the business.
1 year, it's data analysis. The next, client relations. The idea being maybe Choi will find something he likes and is good at.
In the military, as an officer, you switch roles rather quickly. So being able to adapt and overcome and tackle a very steep learning curve wasn't something that I wasn't used to. And so that's how I approached this position here.
And that adaptability, demonstrated by Choi and Johnson at Waste Masters, is just one of the qualities employers tell me make hiring veterans worth the investment, period.